At the KSMO studios, it is Tuesday, July the 8th. That's Intercounty Day. We have Vanessa with us this morning. And Vanessa is filling in, kind of pinch hitting a little bit today for Heather.
Yes, she is having a good time on vacation.
Good time on vacay. Well, there's nothing wrong with having a vacay, but summertime gets a little bit hot. She's down in Florida.
Yes.
All right.
Having
good
a good
for
time, her
Good
and
for
the kids and her husband. So
It's just a little, you don't have to get super close, but we just need a little bit more. Okay, very good. So I assume you made it through the annual meeting because you are here.
did, yes. We had another successful year.
Very good, very good.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about the day. I mean, we've talked about it every single year since we've had an annual meeting, which is every year. And every year is a little bit different, though, isn't it?
Yes. It seems like, of course, after COVID, there's been less in-person people coming, which is kind of unfortunate because we do have a wonderful time there that day. But I understand, it's very hot weather, and sometimes that if it's a nice weather day, typically there's more people that they want to get out and about.
Does get a little hot out there by
Boy, does it.
late morning. Sometimes early morning. But,
Yes.
you can't, it's Missouri weather. What are you going to do?
Right.
You really can't do much about it. But there's a lot of things that go on at the Intercounty Annual Meeting, and we talk about it. Yes, it is an annual meeting. It is a business meeting.
Correct.
Truly, a lot of business takes place. For the most part, just a few decisions are made because there wasn't a lot on the ballot this year.
Not really. None of the board members were running in contested races. We did have 2 bylaws that were voted on.
Right. So how did those bylaws come out?
It went well. They were both passed. Looks like the first bylaw passed 493 yes and 120 no's, and that was the one dealing with being able to securely online vote in the future.
Electronic voting of some sort, form, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Because it'll kind of be up
Not
to the
necessarily online, but
right,
electronic.
But it'll be
yes.
something with the IT department, or maybe
Yes.
through Smart Hub, something like that. Okay.
And then bylaw 2, where it was dealing with unclaimed capital credits that have expired, and rather than just going into the general fund of capital credits, being used for youth programs and scholarships.
And that passed as well?
That one passed 503 votes yes and 115 no. So
I don't know really why anybody would vote against that. I think it's a
agree
good
with
idea,
you.
but anyway. But
It's always
I'm
good.
glad it passed.
Me too. It's always
And-
good to invest in our youth.
And that will be proctored. Kind of really don't have a committee yet for that, or do we? Or is that going to go underneath the roundup people?
I'm not exactly sure. I think some of that's still in the works with the attorneys and the board. It'll kind of go in under Roundup somehow because that was originally what it was designed for, was charitable organization and scholarship fund.
But it's the Community Foundation and Education Fund.
Right.
And I remember that from last week, last month.
Yeah.
So we definitely, but it's good. That's a good step forward. I know Intercounty does a lot for students anyway, but this is just another feather in the cap, and another scholarship they can apply for.
We just got our youth tour kids back recently. They're toward the end of June. There were the 9 that went to Washington, D.C. They spent a week up there visiting the nation's capital.
And they all
Seen
went.
some of the pictures. All of them went.
That's good.
Seen some of
That's
the pictures. They had a fantastic time.
I don't know of anybody who wouldn't have a fantastic time with a free
We
vacation.
had a couple of the boys from our crew, and I think one from one of the other co-ops. They were in a competition to see who could get the most pins from all the other states.
Oh, boy.
And 2 of ours got all 44 that were there, and which is quite a feat because Alaska's a hard one to get. They only send just a couple of kids. So.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. At least that's what it's all about. A little bit of creativity while you're on the trip.
Yeah.
Have some fun with it. Make some challenges. Make some friends.
Yeah.
Make some contacts for later on in your life.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's a great thing to do. All right, very good. So the annual meeting, we had Texas County Hospital was over there.
Yes.
And they did their health, quasi-health fair.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you haven't taken advantage of that before, at an intercounty annual meeting, you can do that. Just remember to fast before you go, and then you get your blood work done, and it's really a pretty impressive.
It's really a good service for our membership if they happen to not have insurance, or even if with their insurance, if they have to pay up to their deductible, it just costs them $30 to get their blood draws done.
Right, and the best thing about that is if you have more of a health savings account, you can pay
Right.
for it right out of there, and
Exactly.
it's still deductible off your taxes. So,
Yes.
if you ever want to know about that, you always just contact your insurance agent about something like that, because yes, you can use your funds for those type of things
Yes.
from your health savings account. All right, you also have a lot of drawings and a lot of
We
winners.
did.
Oh,
We did.
my, everybody on pins and needles. You probably would have already been contacted if you won.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you're hearing your name for the first time, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
But if you're not, though, more than likely you already know if you won or not. All right. Well, I'll let you. Obviously, you give away a lot of electric credits, but there's other things to give away too. I'll let you go ahead and start.
Okay, on our $50 electric credits, we had Michael Goforth of Licking, Ronald and Janice Pruitt of Rolla, Dottie Perryman from Raymondville, Roger Lindsay from Kabul, Ricky and Velma Scott from Edgar Springs, Aaron St. John from Licking, Loretta Friend from Licking, Eugene and Beverly Millsap from Salem, Peggy Trippy from Licking, Virginia Cottrell from Edgar Springs, Kimberly Sherrill from Licking, Mitch Lakes from Salem, Diane Rotz from Eunice, Donald Moore from Salem, Angela Keller from Houston, John Bailey from Licking, Jeffrey Scott from Licking, Timothy Tippett from Licking, Bob and Dorothy Kraft from from St. James, Gloria Teft from Rolla, and on our $100 electric credit giveaways, we had Anthony Tadero from Licking, Coy Clark and Lana Brown from Houston, Sandra Rodabaugh from Licking, Carolyn Pascal from Licking, Crystal Keller from Success, Leona Livingston from Licking, Jonna Cook from Licking, Mike and Twyla Jones from Rolla, Alonzo and Patsy Kersey from Salem, Helena and Mike Wolf from Salem. On our $250 electric credits, we had Perry Snyder from Licking, Thomas and Rosalie Scott from Licking, Wesley and Catherine Wallace from Licking, Alan and Janice Foster from Mountain Grove. And on our $500 electric credits, we had Clayton Hancock from Bucyrus and Faith Baptist from Houston. And then Show Me Power gives us cash to give out. We had 4 winners for that. Ben and Regina Walker won $100 cash from Mountain Grove, Jerry Trout from Licking, Deborah Seidlitz from Licking, and John Pruitt from Salem.
Very good.
And then we have the kiddos that win the bicycles.
That's all money, credits and money.
Yeah,
Like
credits
that.
and money.
Now,
yeah.
And of course there are bikes that are given
Yeah,
away to the kids,
and the teddy bears for the
teddy
coloring
bears, right, and
contest.
other,
They
other,
love that.
Other giveaways, but go ahead
Yeah.
with that as well.
Okay. We have Christian Runyon, age 12, won one of the bikes. Arian Helms, age 8. Jasper Pointer, age 5. Gabriella Sheets, age 10. Eva Chikura, I'm sure I'm going to butcher that name,
That's all right.
age 6. And Huntley Duncan, age 4.
Very good. Well, congratulations to all the winners.
Yeah.
Be it money, credits, bicycles, teddy
Yeah.
bears, whatever it might be. Hope you had a good time over at the annual meeting. And,
Yeah.
of course, but the big part of business was getting those 2, when we'll just say basically amendments or directives passed. And both of them will benefit, I think, the kids in the future, and make it a little bit easier to vote for the annual meeting.
Yeah.
I hope more people actually get a chance to attend. It's a tremendous, even though I don't really consider it a picnic, it really is.
It really is.
Besides the business at hand.
Yeah.
It really is.
We feed you lunch. Looks like we had 796 registered members.
Okay.
Now, we had probably more people than that because a lot of them come with guests.
Sure,
but,
sure.
Yeah. So we did have a pretty good turnout.
So do you know how the prior to the meeting registration went at Intercounty's office?
I am not off the
Okay.
top
I
of
didn't-
my
I
head
didn't know if-
sure on
I
those
didn't know if
numbers.
they had those totals. Since it was the first time they've done that,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
sign up a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right there at the office in person. So, okay, well, maybe Heather on that next time when she comes back.
She
from
could
her
probably
vacay.
tell you. She has all those numbers in her head. She's good.
She has a lot of numbers in her head. But definitely, but still, it sounds like a pretty good turnout.
We did. We
overall.
did. Yeah.
'Cause
Had
it
a
was
good
pretty
day.
warm day.
Yeah.
Pretty warm day. I do remember that day. It was kind of warm. Kind of got I think we even had a pop-up shower by that afternoon, but I'm pretty sure everybody was
I
already
think,
gone
yeah,
by
we were
then.
already gone. I'd say probably some of the guys that might have been still tearing down, they might have really enjoyed that.
Might have. It usually does
It's a
feel
hot
pretty
job for
good.
them, yes. They
All
do a
right.
good job, though.
So we are in July now. This is
Yes.
halfway through the year.
Oh, my.
And this is air conditioning season. And I mean,
It
do you have
is.
anything else you want to report on the annual meeting before we move on? Or
I
you-
think we're pretty good on that one. That pretty well.
Okay, very good. And again, the fourth Friday of next year, I believe, is still accurate.
That's correct, yes.
You know, it's always going to be either the fourth Friday or, if there are 5.
Yes.
You know, I always want to say the last Friday of the month.
Well, we used to always say that, and then we got burned by that
Yeah,
because we
well,
had one of those that was
absolutely.
5
That's why
Fridays.
I said fourth Friday.
Yep.
But most of the time, that will be the last Friday of the
Yes.
month of June. So, anyway, but if it isn't, it's the fourth Friday. All right, very good. All right, well, let's move on a little bit. And I wanted to get to air conditioning season because it's been hot.
It's been really
humid.
hot.
It's been sticky. And we've had showers popping up, and then the sun comes right back out, and it just turns into a
Humidity.
steam bath. Yes.
Yes.
We obviously, we've told people, we read heat warnings and things of that nature, where you definitely want to kind of keep an eye on what you're doing there. You don't have to have your thermostat 65 degrees when it's 95 outside. 72 feels really good
Yes, it does.
when you come back in, or 75. We actually moved ours up to 77.
Oh, wow.
Because, well,
That's-
you're coming in from
That's
outside.
efficient. Yes, you are.
You're coming in
And
from outside.
That's a
and
big
I'm-
shock.
Yeah, and you know, usually the moisture of all the humidity is on
Yeah.
you, so you hit that cool and
Yeah,
you get
it's
that
pretty
immediate
chilly.
cool down.
Yeah. And sometimes some things that you can do to kind of help relieve a little bit of your air conditioning is if you happen to have a ceiling fan, if you're in the room, turn the ceiling fan on. You know, have it down on your summertime setting to where it's blowing the air. Actually, you know, it's circulating the air, blowing it down on you, and it
And
feels
that's what
cooler.
people don't really do they?
Yes.
They don't change their fans from the winter to the summer. They just leave it go.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be bringing, obviously, the hot air into play more than the cool air. And so a lot of people never do change the direction of their fan. There's a switch on your fan
And that's very
to
important.
go from winter to summer. 'Cause one pulls the air up and one draws the air back down.
Mm-hmm. I sometimes am one of those
Oh,
that
I
have
have
forgotten,
forgotten.
and then I'm like, why is there not much air moving in this room? I should feel some air, and then I think, oh, I bet I forgot to switch that setting.
And in the summertime, you want that air blowing
Yes,
down.
blowing down
and,
on
and
you.
people say, well, no, why would you want to bring the heat from down there to the floor? To circulate the cold air from the floor back up.
Back up. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And it does help on the.
Oh,
it
it
takes
does.
a little pressure off of your ceiling fan, plus the air blowing across your skin. It does feel cooler.
Sure. And then in the wintertime, you want to reverse that and
Yeah.
actually bring the cold air up to
You
the
don't-
ceiling. As the fan is blowing the opposite direction, it's blowing the hot air off the ceiling down.
Especially those people with vaulted ceilings. You
Yes.
don't want to heat that space you're not in.
That's absolutely true. Boy, I saw, we were at a location, I'll say back, it was in San Francisco, and they had a 45-foot vaulted ceiling
Oh my.
with 4 ceiling fans strategically below it.
Yes.
And I thought, 45 feet straight up. I mean, obviously, I would hate to put the roof on that
I'd
thing.
hate to replace the light bulbs and the fans
Yeah,
if they
that
had
too.
lights.
Well, the fans weren't all that high up there. They had
Oh, okay.
one way up there, way
Gotcha.
up there.
Yeah.
But most of the 4 were like 20 feet above the floor.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You
that wouldn't
know,
be too bad.
So they had those 4 strategically placed to where they just kept that air circulating. I kept thinking that, air's all going to sit down here, but it was fairly comfortable
Not
in
too
there. I
bad.
thought it might get a little bit warm. Maybe. But really did. I was out in San Francisco, but they have some pretty unusual buildings that they have built.
They
and-
kind of have a tendency to have them long and skinny, and I believe they call those shotgun houses.
Yeah, some stuff
Long and
like
skinny
that.
and
So,
tall.
So yeah, but a lot of vaulted ceilings out there,
Yeah.
and I'm not quite really sure why. But saw quite a few.
Yeah.
But that again, keep that in mind. There are ways to also reduce the stress on your air conditioner by getting a programmable thermostat. And a lot of
There you
people
go.
still don't have them. And I understand the old Honeywell thermostats were fantastic. They were fantastic
Yeah.
for their time. But today, I really do believe people need to get a programmable thermostat to the hours that they're going to be around at home, to when their hours are going to be if they're at work. Now, if you're at home all day, that old Honeywell
Right.
thermostat is just fine. You can tweak it a little bit. But if you're not going to be at home, why do
Right.
you want to cool your home to 73 when there's nobody there?
Right.
And 77 works just as good. And then if you're coming home at 4:30, at 4 o'clock, then your air come on and it'll get it down to the
Right.
73 that you want to, or
We
whatever
we
temperature you desire.
We have rebate programs on the not just the programmables. They have to be the Energy Star rated smart thermostats.
Right.
Which the way those are the most efficient is it starts learning your habits. The times of day that you turn the thermostat to a higher setting, whether it be the wintertime you want it warmer, the summertime you want it cooler, it'll start learning that and it'll slowly start moving it. Like, for instance, in the wintertime, if you have a heat pump, if you bump that thermostat too many degrees at one time, then your emergency heat
Your
setting
auxiliary
comes
heat,
in.
yes.
Then it gets in your pocket.
Yeah, big time. You know, and that is I think, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That's because everybody thinks that a heat pump also cools, by the
Yes,
way,
it
because it
does.
takes the ground temperature, which is cooler than the air temperature, and it puts it back into your home, it's a great thing to have when temperatures are fairly moderate. And I
Yes.
say that if it's going to be 105 degrees, I guarantee you your heat pump is not going to be able to cool your house down by itself.
Yes.
It will need a little help.
Yeah.
And the same thing if it's minus 20. If you've got that condition, the ground's frozen, it's not going to be able to generate a lot more heat back into your home. It'll help, but it's not going to get that thing warm to 65 degrees if that's where you want to get it. So your auxiliary heat comes on. So this is where I think a little bit of misconception with heat pumps has come
Well, and
in.
then
They
we've
think
got-
it's all inclusive and it's going
Right.
to take care of everything.
And we've got so many different kinds of heat pumps out there
That's true.
nowadays. We've got geothermal, which is the ground source.
Right.
Then we've got the air source, which you have either electric strip heat backup or you have propane or natural gas. And then you have your mini splits. And I've got to say, I'm not as fluent with the language on those mini splits as I
splits.
probably should be. There's a lot of understanding I just don't have on those yet. I understand the cooling side, but if they don't have heat strips, I'm not exactly sure how they heat to those really low temperatures.
Yeah, I don't know. There's good and bad in mini splits,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
and depending upon where your placement is, that's usually the key indicator on the mini split. If it's like a motel unit, I think most people are familiar with those.
And a lot of times in your older homes, some of these people, they, big thing, you redo these old farmhouses and they can just do them so cute. But you don't have a lot of places for ductwork in those. If
Right.
you like those high ceilings and if they're sitting pretty close to the ground, it's very difficult to put ductwork in, and mini splits are definitely the way to go on that.
The only thing that, and from personal experience, where somebody added on their house, and
Right.
obviously they could not add onto their they couldn't add on their furnace because it wasn't big enough.
Right.
So they got 3 mini splits to cover an area. The electric bill, though, is going to send you a little
bit of a coronary sometimes.
because if you're trying to cool 3 different rooms, or
Yeah.
maybe 2 rooms with 3 mini splits, you're better off getting another central unit
Yeah.
and just having that one take care of those 3. It doesn't have to be a very big unit, but it will provide you with a better air circulation. And yes, when you're building that add-on, you can put ductwork in at
Yeah.
that time. But the mini split, they put them up high, and I said, well, that's great, except when you want to heat,
Then
it's
your
never
heat's
going
all
to
up
come.
there.
It's never going to come down to the floor.
Yeah.
Well, you have one fan in the middle. I said, that's great, but your mini splits are on both sides of the fan. And they're not really close. So, there's a strategic way to do
They're
it.
good in smaller rooms.
Very good in smaller
Large,
rooms.
large areas.
Yes.
They work pretty hard.
Yeah, and so if you're going to do a mini split, I don't know enough about it. I do know that was a real high electric bill.
I have an aunt and uncle who have a mobile or a modular home, and
Mm-hmm.
they built an addition on the front of it, the whole length of it, because my uncle, he's not as mobile as he used to be.
Sure, none of
and
us
he
are.
can't get up and down the stairs very well. I'm sure that time's coming for me sooner than what I'd like.
It does.
But they put one in that addition, and they decided that it was running their electric bill up a lot, but that was a very large area, and it was all the heat and cool was staying at the one end. So
It makes it tough.
Yeah.
It makes it tough.
She said,
to
"I
try
thought
and
these
get-
were supposed to be a lot
especially
cheaper."
to try and get a desired temperature. And
Yes.
And I'm not telling anybody anything different. Everybody has a different ideal
Right.
temperature.
Right.
Like I said, we've got as high as 77 in the summer, where it's very comfortable. For other people, they'd be sweating at 77.
I would probably be one of those.
And they want it back to 72. Well, 72 in our house. I mean, we've got it pretty well insulated, so
Yeah.
don't really
That's
need
pretty
it.
cool still.
Doesn't really need it, but we utilize the ceiling fan. It keeps the
Yeah.
air circulating. So, in our case, no, we're perfectly good there. But I do know people that 72 is not even low enough. They need in the 60s.
I do too, and we're the ones that in the wintertime you're probably going to be kind of chilly in our house because we're pretty warm natured, but 72 24 hours a day in the summertime still a little chilly to me.
Yeah, you can be. You definitely can be. It's coming in from 95 degrees. It's
Yeah.
72. Pang.
Yeah.
It's just like walking out of your house. You're used to 72, and you hit outside,
And then it's hot.
and you have a heat index of 105. 30 degrees is a big change.
And when you're trying to cool your house, you want to think about that. If it's 105 degrees heat index outside and you've got your temperature set on 72 inside, that's
working hard.
32 degrees difference that system's having to
And let's talk a
change.
little bit about, and we're just trying to help you save money, and we're talking a little
Right.
bit about heat, air conditioning here in the summer, is the amount of times that we all know that summertime the kids are home.
Yeah.
Okay? And a lot of times the kids, I guarantee it, are going to run in and out of the house. If you have a pool or things that they can do outside, they're going to be in and out of the
In
house
and
all
out.
the time. But every time you open that door, they don't open it just to go in and out. They open the door and let all their friends in, including mosquitoes and,
dog.
everything else. But the longer you open that door, all that hard work that your air conditioning system did to cool a house down. Now, I'm not saying for a couple of seconds or 3 seconds. It's going to make a little difference, but it's not going to make a huge difference. But you leave that full, let's say 40-inch front door
Right.
open, that's a lot of air going out into the atmosphere, which is not cooling the atmosphere, by the way.
No,
So
no
don't
matter
think-
how hard you try.
don't think it's going to work that way. But it all escapes. And then the air conditioning, your central unit or split unit, whatever
Right.
it might be that you have, it's going to have to
working
work
hard.
that much harder to
Yeah.
try and cool that down.
We laugh about some of our old timers. I call them old timers now. My grandma used to say this: "Don't let the bought air out." Think about that. You've paid a lot of money for that cool air. You don't want to let it outside.
The same in the wintertime with the
Right.
heat.
Exactly.
But I think most people are dressed more for the heat when they need to heat their house. Usually they have a couple layers on and
Yeah.
they can take it off. But you're coming in and out usually with coats on and things of that nature. But my thing is, in the wintertime when you come in with a coat, people, if they've been out in the snow or whatever, they stand in the doorway and try and shake it all off with the door open.
Yeah.
Not the ideal thing to do.
Some
Get
of
them
the-
inside the house,
Yeah.
shake off, have a little rug there, whatever you need, just to capture the snow as it falls. But just remember, the longer you leave that door open, the worse it is.
Right.
And when we talk about insulating and things of that nature,
Right.
we need to talk about, this is the time of year, guys, to check all around your windows,
Your
check around your
doors.
doors, find those air leaks, and if you do, and you can solve that problem, you can end
Yeah.
up saving yourself quite a bit of money.
In those places, for instance, like where if you have lines that come into your home, say you've put in one of those mini splits, you've got that hole in your wall where that line comes in. Make sure that that's sealed up really good. If you can see daylight in the daytime coming in from the outside, you might want to get you a can of that spray foam insulation and seal up that hole.
Or you can hear it. A lot of times when we've had these winds, Vanessa,
Yeah.
you can hear it.
You can.
And you know it's coming through. When you hear that whistle, usually that means
You
you've
wanna
got
look for it.
some gap around your window, and it's found its way in, making a sound.
And if that air can get in, so can some of those little critters.
Exactly. Not only little critters, but also a lot of air. That air's
Yes, a
moving
lot
all the
of
time,
air.
whether you hear it or not. It's
Right.
It's moving in and out. And one of the things that people do tend to forget, and I know I never really thought about it too much, is for people who have a crawl space. Obviously, you're not usually heating and cooling your crawl space, except for any maybe existing ductwork you have there. It will help keep it a little cooler, a little bit
Right.
warmer. In the winter, usually for pipes, it's a good thing.
And-
But let me ask you, when was the last time you took your vents off the floor or ceiling and looked into that crawl space to see if there's not a gap around that metal bringing your air in? And
Yeah.
guess what? If you have that in your floor, that's cool air coming
Going
in
out.
around that register every single moment of
Yep.
every single day, or hot
Right.
air in the case of the summer. Even if it's a crawl space, not as noticeable in the summertime.
In the
It looks still a
wintertime,
little bit
it's
cooler,
really
but
noticeable.
in the winter,
Yeah.
ooh, baby.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, in the summertime, you want to check, if you have that crawl space and you have those vents, you want those open in the wintertime so that you've got the circulation down there and you don't end up getting mold and mildew under
Sure.
your home. But in the wintertime, you definitely want to make sure you close those so that you're not exposing pipes to unnecessary cold air blowing through.
But even around that register
your floors.
in your floor, caulk it.
Yeah.
Just caulk it. You'd be amazed. And that caulk will last you 20 years in there because it's not being exposed to the elements.
Yeah. And sometimes this is a good time to look at your ductwork. If you see anything that looks like gaps, or you can feel, like in
Yeah.
our house, you can feel in our basement if there were a gap in the ductwork,
Right.
get some of the mastic tape, seal that off. That's all inefficiencies.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not as easy to in a crawl space.
Right.
But I really do believe that about every 2 to 5 years, depending upon the age of your home, is to have somebody check that ductwork.
Just
because
by-
it can shake loose. An animal can get up underneath there.
And just expansion and contraction,
and
contraction
expansion and
from the
contraction.
change in the atmospheric temperatures. I mean, makes a difference.
You realize that when your heat comes on, it's cold, so the heat's going to expand that metal
Yeah.
ductwork. And if you have the flex pipes, which a lot of people have now, if you have the flex pipe, make sure that seal is made good on your vent. A lot of times after a period of time, we do tend to have thunderstorms, those little
Right.
boomers that come through. We don't need to talk about that with Intercounty. You guys have seen plenty of those.
We've had a lot of those this year, I tell
Or
you.
sonic booms in our area
Yeah.
we get from Fort Leonard Wood. We'll shake that loose
Yeah,
over time.
it can.
So you definitely want to make sure that you have some qualified professional check it out.
Check it out.
Just to make sure that you don't have any leaks. And it's a good time also maybe even to clean that ductwork
Yeah.
where dust and dirt can accumulate as well. And
Yes.
somebody said, how can that do that? I have an air filter. Things do get through the air filter. And a lot of times
They
we don't
do.
change our air filters as soon as we should.
Yes, that's another good point right there.
Well, let's-
Change those filters.
Right. If you haven't changed your filter from the spring season to summer, do it now.
I'm pretty dedicated on that. Of course, I see this all the time at work. I change mine out once a month. And there are some months that I notice, if it's really dry and hot and there's a lot of dust in the air, I notice that the
Yeah.
filter definitely looks dustier than other months. But yes, if your filter looks like there's been a cat laying in one side of it using it as a hammock, that's needed changed
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
That's kind of a telltale sign. I have one, the air filter that I get actually has a very fine, like white cloth to it,
Yeah.
very, very fine.
Yes.
And you don't even think it's dirty. You look at it and say, "Oh, well, that doesn't look too bad," compared to the new one.
And you're
And
surprised.
it's a 50 Shades of Grey. It's not just a movie.
Yeah.
That's what your air filter
Your
looks
air
like.
filter, yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, it's dirtier than I thought. And so I go ahead and change it. And you would not believe the difference
Yeah.
in the amount of less strain it's putting on my central unit.
And that's another one of those things that's good to have checked. Have someone service your central air and heat
Yeah.
periodically. Some places say twice a year, some say once a year. Some people don't get it done very often, but if it gets through that filter, it then goes to your coil inside your
Sure.
system, and then it doesn't work as efficiently
And
as
they
it
need to
should.
clean off the coils, which can be done. Or those coils, especially with the ace,
Yeah.
your A coil, it just starts to freeze.
It freezes up,
And when it
yeah,
freezes up, you have no air conditioning.
you have problems. That I can tell you from experience last night.
Oh, you had it last night?
I have a frozen
Oh.
coil last night, so yes, I have a contractor coming to the house today.
Well,
Yeah.
first thing is turn off your air and just turn your fan on.
Yes,
and that
that's
will
what we
help
did.
melt that coil, and actually
Yeah.
will start putting cold air back into your house
Yes.
while it's melting.
Yeah.
Of course, once it melts, then your air will work
Yeah.
again, but it'll
And you
freeze
want to
up
check
again.
those drains too. Make sure that
Well,
they're draining
absolutely,
properly.
yeah. We have a sump pump in ours.
Yeah.
And we have it out in the garage. We moved it from the middle of our house to the garage. I did not want, in case of a fire, because it was the
Right.
gas furnace. The only way out of our bedrooms is right by the furnace. That's not really good
Not
thinking.
safe.
I don't know why they did that, but I said no, because back in my property management days, I'd see stuff like that, and I'd read
Fire
about these
hazards,
fires.
yeah.
Well, if the furnace blows up or catches on fire, first off, a lot of people just, I don't know why they would refuse to break a window and go out their bedroom window.
I'd rather break that window.
Yeah.
Chances are that window's going to break from the heat
Right.
anyway.
But if you're going to do that, what I try and tell people is just close that bedroom door. If there's a fire out there, so you don't want to add air to that fire, it's going to
Yeah.
suck it right to you. So, but people, I mean, it's a panic time. We all know it is a panic time. But you definitely want to make sure that if you have a situation like that, you might want to look into moving that furnace away from a central area that if people have to get out of your house, that they can.
Yes.
If it catches on fire in my garage, I'm good. I mean,
As
it's
long as
not
you
a
have
great
those smoke
great
detectors.
location, but it's pretty much surrounded by concrete.
Right.
So it's not going to do too much damage. Now, if it gets up in the ductwork, obviously your roof can
move.
catch on fire, but you can get out of the house.
Yes.
So always look at different things in your house to make sure that it's safe, number one. Number two, you have a plan if it should catch on fire. And also, three, making sure that everything is working good. Your central units, your furnaces, like you said, maybe have a qualified professional come out. I don't know about every 6 months, but I'd say every year.
Probably every year.
But if you're having an issue with your air conditioner or furnace, don't put it off and think it's going to correct itself.
Right.
They don't.
And especially if you have propane or natural gas, it's a good time to have someone check it once a year to make sure that you don't have any leaks or you don't have any issues there.
Very important.
And those carbon monoxide and gas detectors are a good thing to have in your home.
Right. And always remember, anybody that says a carbon monoxide and smoke alarm can be put together are wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy them that way.
It's probably not the best option.
Just remember, carbon monoxide is a heavy gas. It goes to the floor.
Yes, and your smoke detectors are typically by the ceiling.
Smoke, it's lighter than gas. It goes up. So when you have that situation, by the time it would get, say, to a location near your ceiling, yeah, you're probably already dead.
And just because you bought one 25 years ago doesn't mean that it's still good. They do have expiration dates.
Most of them are 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
And now some of them are coming self-contained, so you don't even change the battery. It's good for 7 years. And then when it dies, though, you can't kill that battery alarm when it tells you it's dead.
That's a good way to get people to change it. Make sure they change them out.
Hammer's the only way I could get mine to stop. I mean, it was okay. I knew it was expired. I went and replaced it.
Yeah.
But that alarm kept going off. Beep 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 beep. What the heck? There's no physical battery I could get out.
Yes.
So I had to crush it.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
As long as you've got that new one to replace it
I
with.
did have the new one to replace.
You don't
it.
want to
No,
not
no,
have
no.
that.
We do have that. We have 3 of them in our home, and that's always something you want to check on too. Make sure there's no spider webs.
Yes.
And things across your smoke alarm, because that can set it off as well.
Yeah.
A lot of little stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of little stuff. But put those CO detectors, especially if you have propane,
Natural gas. You can
water heater or
you
natural
can,
gas.
Yes, you can get those carbon monoxide detectors that will detect propane and natural gas as well.
Yeah.
It just, you want to read the directions and where you put it. From my understanding, from the one that we have in our house, if you have propane, you want it close to the floor.
Yes.
If you have natural gas, you want it up a little higher, I believe.
Not much.
No.
So it's
But
still
you don't want it
heavier.
up 5 foot in the air.
Propane's heavier than natural
Yeah.
gas. Yes, it is. It's more volatile than natural
Yes.
gas is.
Yeah.
But still, they're both
Correct.
not something to play with.
Yes.
And also, those have expiration dates as
They
well. So make sure. And if you have a natural gas dryer or water heater or propane, you want to definitely put one in that area.
It's carbon
Because if it's
monoxide
going to leak,
is silent.
and the connection, it's going to leak in that area first.
Right. And carbon monoxide is definitely a silent killer.
Right.
You
don't
can't
wanna have
smell
that.
it. You just...
And also make sure that your vent pipes are cleaned out too.
Yes.
People forget about that, and I know sometimes that means a trip to your roof to see if a bird's nest has been put in one of those pipes. It does happen.
And they like those places. They're
Yeah,
nice
it
and
goes
warm in
nice
the
and
winter.
warm in the winter,
Yeah.
you bet. And not so much in the
Yeah.
summer, but in the springtime when you're still using your heat, it's a
Yeah.
nice warm place.
Yeah.
So again, kind of keep that in mind if you have some issues or you want to just make sure, just look on your roof. A lot of times you'll see that standpipe, and if you see a nest on it,
Time to check it.
time to have
Time to
somebody
clean
go
it.
up there and
Yeah.
remove the nest. As much as I love birds,
Yeah.
I
That's
like
not a
to
good place
breathe
for
a
them
lot
to put
better.
it. Yeah.
So go remove the nest and make sure that that's all done. And the same thing with your dryer vents. If your dryer vents are backing up, a lot of times that can also push carbon monoxide back in your house. Now, a lot of people use dryer vents to warm their house in the winter. You can do that to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
if you're going to be doing laundry all day long and never opening your doors, I don't recommend it.
Right.
If you're using natural gas and propane,
Right.
that will propel some of those carbon monoxide molecules into the air.
Yeah.
You'll get them. You'll get them. So very good. But energy saving. We're just trying to help you save money. We all know that
That's right.
we don't want to spend more on our electric bills than we need to. And Vanessa, this time of year, a lot of people more are outside.
Yep.
See a lot more people now with swimming pools, and we've talked about this with Heather many times. Those pumps go 24/7, guys, on your swimming pool. You don't shut it off when you get done using it, and turn it on when
Yes.
you don't, or when you're wanting to use it, because your pool will be green.
Yeah. You can set them on timers. We have some
can.
people that'll set them on timers, run all day long, and then kick off part of the
Kick on a
night,
little bit
and
of
that'll
night, right.
help your electric bill a little bit. But you don't want that. You don't want that green showing up in your pool. Nobody wants that.
No, and some people have covers that
Yes.
they use solar, that they can actually heat up their water, and that's fine. And you can use that and circulate your water. When you put new water in, it won't be freezing cold. But again, those pumps do take quite a bit of
They do.
electricity. And if you have lights on outside along your pool and you're out there at night, you're adding a little bit to that. But of course, with the new LED lights, etc.,
Costs a little less now than it did,
A little
but,
less now than those old spotlights and floodlights.
Of course, the kind of the nice thing now, a lot of those lights you can buy that have little solar panels that
Right.
help kind of charge them and helps keep your electric down. And you can put them in places where you don't have to string that electric cord or that extension
also-
cord all the way across your yard and hit it with your lawnmower. Or
That's also true. And look at that, but make sure you understand where to angle those solar
yes,
panels.
or you might
Man,
not have light.
Yeah, if you angle the solar panels to the north, you probably aren't going to get a lot of charging
Right.
of that battery. That's not the way the sun comes to us.
Yes.
So maybe if you're in Australia, yeah, but
That
not,
could be.
Not here. Not here. Not a good thing. There are a number of ways to help conserve.
Yes.
And a lot of different bulbs have come out. Some are even motion activated bulbs you can put out. So if you have a porch light on, you don't have to leave it on right at your door. You can have another light out maybe where people can see to get to your porch, and once they get there the light comes on. So there's been a lot of different things to help save your electric.
Yes. Some of those motion lights are really handy to put on steps, for instance. That way people don't have to leave their porch light on 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
You just
Exactly.
come by that step, motion kicks that light on, you can see to get up your steps safely.
Or if somebody's coming to your house that you don't know,
This is true.
you also get a chance to see them before they get to your door. So
Yes.
kind of keep all that in mind. Very good. Very
Yep.
good. All right. What else would you like to talk about
We
today?
have had a little excitement here locally. One of our locals from here in Salem, Adam Patrick, one of our linemen for here in the Salem area. He actually was in Washington, D.C. with Jason Smith and Mr. Trump.
I heard that.
Yes. Quite a
Got his picture taken.
Got his
with
picture taken
them.
there, yes. They're dealing with some legislation that will help electric co-ops trying for keeping your bills down, generation, things like that. From my understanding, I don't know all the details on the bills and the legislation, but there's always so much that goes into them
Sure.
and gets taken out before they ever really get passed. So
A lot of
I'll be
talk
anxious
about
to hear.
energy right now.
Yes, there really is. And energy and the grid and all of that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that was pretty exciting.
It was pretty exciting.
He was-
Congratulations
yes,
to Adam.
he was there representing Missouri's electric cooperatives. My understanding, there was he and another lineman, I believe, maybe.
I thought there
from
was. I
the-
thought there was a couple of them. That
A couple
were
of
up
them
there.
there from the state
but-
of Missouri.
And that is what I really hope that we see more of
Right.
in our governments, be it state government or federal government.
The little guys, the working
instead
guys.
of legislators passing legislation or doing something that doesn't seem to make any sense because they never talk to anybody there to know how it really works.
Talk to the people who know about it.
Exactly. Talk to the linemen. Talk to the people who are distributing that power. Talk to the people who have to do the work in those locations to find out if it's even feasible.
You can
what
talk
wanna
to your
do.
CEOs and you can get information, but when you talk to that guy that's out there on the line, he sees the things that, even sometimes your management may not see or may not be aware of. And I don't mean just your individual, like your co-op CEOs. I
Sure.
mean like your big guys up there in Washington, D.C.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, and you always hope, Vanessa, that those people will actually listen to
Yes.
them. Because a lot of times they, and I don't
They
mean
get
this
swayed
badly,
one way or another.
elected officials get bombarded with requests and everything from every different direction. And
Depends on who benefits the most.
I mean,
Is
they kind
who
of have
tries
to,
the hardest
they
to
kinda
sway
have
'em.
to pick and choose, don't they?
They do.
You know,
yes.
to for a battle.
Yeah.
You know, you
It's
can't
not a
just-
job I would want.
No, I would want it. But the thing is, though, is that people like Adam and other people who are willing to go and talk
Right.
to these people and say, hey, look, I don't think you guys totally understand. We're out there fighting these things in all weather conditions.
Yes.
We know what the grid is all about. We know
what it
yeah,
looks like. We know what it takes
yeah.
to keep it up. We know when you have a major storm how you can change from, feeding one direction to another to get these
Sure.
people on as quick as possible.
So it's good that they hopefully are paying attention to
Yes.
these type of individuals, hands-on individuals that know
Yes.
exactly the bad as well as the good,
Yeah.
and they can explain to them this is what we really need to do. Now, when it comes to the sourcing of energy, obviously, that's not something that Adam, I'm sure, is into
Yeah,
nuclear
probably
energy or
not.
anything of that nature. There are other
Yeah.
experts that are there. But again,
Right.
talk to those people who know about it.
Yes.
If somebody would come to me and ask me about nuclear energy, I think it's a good thing. Most people tell me I'm stupid. And I said, well, I might be because I'm not totally educated on it.
Educate me.
But-
I'm happy to learn.
But
yes.
from what I have read and what I have studied,
yes.
there's some very good things to nuclear energy. Things
think-
that would save us all a whole bunch
I
of
think
money.
there's a lot of fear because you have so far back Chernobyl and Three Mile
3 Mile
Island.
Island.
and
Yeah.
Everybody just has that bad taste in their mouth and that huge fear there. But, when you think about it way back in the day, everything was a lot less safe than what it is today.
Sure. Well, they didn't have the detection and things
Yes.
of that nature. And
So
especially-
many
and Russia
protocols now.
shortcut everything. With Chernobyl, that was a
Yes.
disaster waiting
Yeah.
to happen. 3 Mile Island was a reactor problem.
Yes.
And the steam came out, and that should not have happened. Okay,
Right.
yeah, I grant you. Now they have more devices that can detect
Yes.
that long before that ever happens. They didn't
Yeah.
have them back then. It was,
Yeah.
you know.
You're not dealing with valves and things like that can fail or gauges. You're dealing with sensors and people, and you have backup sensors, and then backup sensors have backup sensors. So,
right.
yeah.
So it's a lot different than it used to be. There's still nuclear energy out there, guys, and
Yes.
it's still
There's,
helping power our nation.
There's a few, I guess they have portable units now that can go online and pretty quickly.
And I think Ameren UE is looking at expanding into that field
That's
again.
from what I've
They've looked at
understood, yes.
Callaway plant and looking to expand some nuclear into that.
Yes.
So I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I'm not saying that's going to affect intercounty. I'm not saying
Right.
it's going to affect your bill. I'm just saying that is going to be another alternative. I understand the wind power, and I
Yes.
understand the solar power, and I understand the water power. We've
But
been
that's not reliable 100% of the time. We wish it were.
well,
Yeah.
the thing
Sun
I
doesn't
hate about-
always shine. The wind doesn't always blow. So,
And-
and,
and
then we
I-
have times of drought. So,
And the thing about solar is, you're exactly right. You get on a 5 or 6 day straight of just clouds, you're still getting some solar, but you're not
as
recharging
much.
your batteries fully.
Right.
And about the wind, I hate wind farms. I look out there, and that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen across. We went to Illinois, and you see 75 of these big
Yeah.
old turbines up there, like 50 of them are working.
Yeah,
What's the other 25 sitting there for?
I don't know. And I didn't realize this until I started seeing some statistics. We have, an internal newsletter that just has little trivia in it. And it said, if they paint one blade black, the numbers of birds that it can save is just astronomical. And I guess I'd never thought about that many birds flying into them and being injured and killed. But I guess it's a very, very high number.
Well,
And I'm sure migrating geese are a big one.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, when
Yeah.
I saw the ones in Illinois, they
Yeah.
don't seem to be moving that fast. That
Yeah,
you think a bird
right.
could get.
You wouldn't think about
You
it.
would think the bird would feel that air pressure from.
Yeah,
Anyway, and maybe get sucked in a little bit. I don't
and
know.
it could be. I don't know.
I don't
but
know.
I seen that. And I
Again-
thought I guess I never really thought about that.
But when people tell me about wind power, and they say, "Well, we need to put some here. Look at all the wind we've had. It'd be great, but look at all the days we have none."
Yeah,
And what are you going to do with that big turbine sitting up there? And if the turbine needs to be repaired, there's not that many people that can fix them.
No.
And those things weigh a couple of tons.
yes.
People think
I have actually I've got a lot of family in Nebraska, and we've come by. There's a plant out there somewhere where they make the different components. And getting behind one of those trucks, it's amazing
Oh.
how long they are, how big they are. Getting beside
Absolutely.
them on the interstate, and
Wide
it's
loads.
crazy. Well, and the trailers that they haul them on, it's like it's not just you pull through a turn. The
Right.
back of the trailer actually operates. It's got its own
Indep-
controls because they are so long.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very large. It's like, wow.
Yeah, that's why they try and put them out in areas where it's flat,
Yeah.
too, because they don't want to put them in areas where there's a lot of hills.
Right.
Because obviously they weigh a lot. And then the solar farms that are starting to pop up, and I get it. If you've got areas of ground that really are kind of like Grove Rocks like Dent County does, it's not a bad thing that if you need to do something to put that solar energy out there, if it's
feasible
economical.
and economical for you.
If you're going to put a solar farm out there, but you can't afford to pay for the panels, which by the way would have to be
And they do
replaced
expire,
after, right?
yeah.
After so long, the electric grid you'll have to create of your own because you have to, because then you can actually net meter it back to
Right.
places like Intercounty or the city of Salem. You can actually do that. There's a lot more to it than just putting a solar panel on the top of your roof and
Right.
saying, I'm good.
Yeah, because then unless you have those battery storage, you are still going to rely on the grid, and sometimes that causes your nighttime and your wintertime peaking rates to be that much higher because that's when, during the days if you're generating, you're not on that, but when you hit those very cold points where it's cloudy, blustery days where you don't have enough sunshine,
Less sunshine to
and
begin
night
with
when it's
anyway,
really
in the winter,
cold,
yeah.
then you're hitting that along with everybody else. So, yeah.
Always-
Sometimes people forget that when they get that bill.
There's good and bad and everything, guys.
There
And
really
that really
is.
is what just
There's no
there-
perfect way, but
No.
you can do the best you can with what you want to do with.
Right. So
How you
anyway,
feel good about it.
See, we always talk about everything nuclear. Everybody thinks war, and it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be.
Doesn't have to be.
That way. It can drive energy to a new level if we let it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to let it. So a lot of different stuff going on. So with that, and I know there's a lot of legislation out there about that as well. That's going to be making its peak here, I think, in the next
Yeah.
year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that moves. Anything else that you
Well,
have?
we have our cycle kids. We'll be going to Jefferson
Oh,
City for
my,
our
yes.
cycle conference
That's,
next week.
Week away?
Yes, that's next Tuesday through
There you
Friday.
go. Okay.
We hope you guys are all excited. Those of you who are going,
Can I go?
I'd love to say yeah. I think their list of chaperones is already filled up.
I always get in on the end of it. Okay. Very
We
good.
we have slots available at the beginning of the year for 18 kids to go. For this reason or that reason or whatever, we only have 9. It looks like that are going to be going this year.
They're
We've
missing
had
out,
3.
Vanessa.
It always disappoints me when we have some of these that cancel the very last minute. That trip's already been paid for. The co-op's already paid that money
Sure.
out. And it's an experience that you're missing out on that can help you out going off to college. You're going to be presentations and things like that. And it's not, cycle, don't let that make you think it has anything to do with bicycles or anything. It's a leadership conference. It's, cooperative youth conference and leadership experience is what that cycle is an acronym for. And there's so many fantastic things that they can learn and experience. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of
Sure.
networking. There's contacts that you can make that can help you out. You don't have any idea how it can help you out in your future.
Have you ever been on the house floor? You will.
Yes,
if
you
you're a
will
member
on
of
that. And
Cycle.
it's not just
You're going to
something
go
that
do
just-
a bill.
Everybody can do.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's amazing when people think happens in Jeff City or Washington
Mm-hmm.
D.C. Till you're there, you really don't understand, and really until you talk with one of the representatives
Yes.
or senators, if you get a chance to.
Yeah.
And sometimes these kids actually get a chance
Yeah.
to talk to the representative or senator. You don't realize
What
all
goes
the
into it.
information that they're being inundated with
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis, what this county needs, what this county needs,
Right.
what that county needs, what inter-county needs,
Yeah.
what farmers need, what cities need, what rural areas need. I
Yes.
mean, we
Our
all,
schools are a big thing that, I
Right.
mean, they're all struggling. And there's so much legislation that is out there. And
Some good, some bad.
Some good, some bad. And you don't realize all of this stuff that these politicians are faced with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and again, I hope that the politicians listen to the teachers because they're the ones.
Yes.
I kind of saw a little bit of something last night about violence in the classroom, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Kids don't respect teachers anymore.
No.
They don't respect law officials anymore. There's, and I say kids, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know where they get that disrespect from. Is it movies? Is it social media? I mean, I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not an expert in this field, but I do know that I have seen teachers actually belittled by a student. They can do nothing because they're restricted by what they can do. The student's free to do whatever they want. And that's not really a good thing.
No, not really.
If the student gets out of control. Now, hey, I understand a misunderstanding or, hey, a disagreement. I've had them with teachers.
Yeah.
There was a couple teachers I wanted to bust in the mouth when I was in college because just their attitudes and, well, we're not going to work with you because you came from a different college. What? What does that mean? You're not going to work with me. I'm a student.
Yeah.
It should be the same thing for everybody, right?
Yes. Should be even playing fields.
It should, but sometimes it's not. But the cycle program,
Yes,
not
it is
only
a
do you get a
very-
chance to actually get out there and possibly visit with legislators, but go and pass that bill on the Senate or House floor, get to see how that's all done. You get to walk around the Capitol. You get a chance to see stuff
Yes.
you may not see your entire life if you don't take the time to do it. And a lot of times, people don't.
I feel like everybody needs to know where their laws come from, how all the process that it goes through to go from a bill to becoming a law. I feel like everybody needs to know. You need to know that in your life,
Exactly.
not just it is what it is.
Well, and some people think once the law is passed, that's it. No. You got to remember, and I don't mean this again. I don't mean things in a bad way. And I think sometimes people they say, "Well, you said." I said, but I'm trying to qualify it. Is that a lot of times bills are passed reactionary.
Yes.
Fire in a nursing home, we got to pass new laws.
Yeah.
Well, we don't go study what we're going to have to do, how much it's going to cost, what the burden's going to be in those nursing homes. It's just there was a fire, one person died. We got to change the laws.
There's amendments that get passed to laws all the time.
All the time. And once they initiate that law, then they find out you're putting the nursing homes out of business because they can't put fire lines in there on every 8 feet away or whatever it was that they wanted to. First off, most of those nursing homes are built back in the 30s and 40s. They're not equipped with that much water pressure to even do that. So then they would have to open up a new main. Tap into a new main. How much is that going to cost? $50,000 to $100,000 just to tap in. Then you got to run all the piping. And can that system actually do the job they want to do?
Sometimes that goes back to your local utilities.
Sure.
Do they have the capacity for that?
Exactly. So a lot of that is not negotiated ahead of time. They make a reactionary bill. So again, I've seen this happen many times in my lifetime. I cringe every time they do one of these and they name it after somebody. I'm like, it's just, guys, you're rushing into this without getting enough knowledge statewide. I mean, we're talking about a state issue, not even federal wide. I can't even imagine that one. But get it statewide. Talk to every nursing home out there. Talk to what their needs are, why this could happen, how it could happen. Then figure out the best bill you can that can accommodate them and keep them all in business.
That's where it's good to talk to the little guys. Talk to your nursing home administrators. Talk to the people that work in them.
Sure.
Just like, with Adam going to Washington, D.C. You're talking to the people that deal with this every day. Learn all the information that you need.
The key word there is every day.
Yes.
We all get, I don't want to say complacent in our jobs. I think we just become habitual in what we do. We come in, check in the morning, get our coffee at 8 o'clock or whatever it might be, 8:01 and 8:02, you're sitting down at your desk, you're checking email. I mean, you go through a routine, and you don't even realize what you're doing after a while. You just do it. Your body's in that habitual mode, just going to do it. And then you have to go talk about it to somebody, and you're thinking, well, I got to do this. And then you start listing what you do in a day.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed.
And then you come and talk to Stan, and he puts you on the spot.
Oh, well, yeah.
And then you think a little bit more about it, and you think, I should have, I should have thought about this a little bit better.
Well, no, I mean, but you
But
understand.
it helps to give that information to people,
Yeah,
so that
but
they have an idea.
it's just like the office at Intercounty.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people have any idea what goes on in the inner workings inside the office.
Right.
They see the linemen, and then they may see office personnel
Right.
at
The cashier's
fall
windows
festival
or the festivals, yes.
expos, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But on an everyday basis, they have no clue.
And sometimes we take for granted when we're talking to someone that they understand as much as we do because we deal with it every day.
Right.
And we sometimes forget to break it down. And
They don't understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I say, please don't hesitate to ask questions. No question is a stupid question. I take for granted because I know this information. I deal with it every day.
Exactly.
Anything you ask me is not going to be a stupid question because you just don't deal with it. So you want to know.
And things do change.
They do.
They do. Sometimes, we all know that the old office from the 50s isn't around anymore. We all know that. You'd see 5,000 typewriters.
Yeah.
You'd see cubicles. You'd see most of that you don't see anymore. But
There's
you see a lot
so
more.
much technology involved
Right. You
now.
see a lot more computers. But then you're seeing computer stations, which in some cases, like we have here at the station, we got like a weather and news station with a computer, and then we have another computer that we just basically prepare stories on and stuff on. There's computers that just generate logs and things of that nature, all separate stations because
Right.
you can't work on them all at the same time. If
No.
somebody's doing one, they're not going to be working on the other, but somebody else could still be doing the weather while somebody's typing news. So every office has their way of doing things. Intercounty would. We do here. Any business out there would have their own protocol, we'll call it, simply because that's what has been learned.
Right. Yes.
Doesn't mean it can't change. Doesn't mean somebody new comes in and won't change it.
Right.
And then we talk about what happened at the annual meeting with these new
Right.
changes with these, do I want to call them amendments? Is that amendments to the bylaws?
Yeah, they're actually proposed bylaw amendments,
Okay,
which they
so-
went through, so they're now amendments
So
to the
we
bylaws.
want to call
yes.
amendments to the bylaws. Okay,
Yes.
so they've been passed. They're now going to become part of the protocol, but they haven't been established yet.
Right.
So Vanessa's got a learning curve again. I mean, really,
Yeah.
because you don't know about it, because
Yep.
it hasn't even been, well, it's just now the amendments have been passed.
Right.
Now they got to work on putting it
They've
into
got to
action.
put it all into action.
Yeah. So you're going to have some new stuff coming at you
Oh yeah.
very soon about that. So I mean, but that's part of every day,
Right.
and this is what we talk about. It's just hard to understand what people go through every single day in their own particular jobs, because you don't do it. I don't do it, and that's one of the reasons why social media, I think, needs to back off a lot. You don't know what a county road worker does. You don't know what an lineman does at intercounty. You don't know unless you've done it.
Yeah. Everybody's real quick to have their opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Right. Keep it to
And
yourself.
It's just a matter of
Yeah.
it's better to ask questions than make judgments.
Sure. My
And
mom
we're all
always told
guilty
me,
of that, but yeah.
Before you spout your opinion, try and drink the water from where they're coming from.
Right. Go to those meetings.
Yeah.
Typically they're open meetings. Find
Well,
out your water district. Find
Or
out
talk,
about your
talk to the person.
your
and find
go to
out.
your annual meeting and find
Sure.
out what's all involved in that. They give a business report. Ask questions. Gain the knowledge.
When you get a chance to at the expo or festivals or whatever, talk to them. Ask the questions. Trust me, if they don't know the answer, and this does
They'll find
happen, they'll find out, and they will get back to you. And I've
Yes.
had that happen 5 different times where I've had asked Intercounty something at most of the time out here at the Denton County Fall Festival years ago when I was
I missed
newer in town, and now the expo's out there. But when I would go out there, I would talk to them, and I'd say, hey, I got this question about my meter, or I got this question about this, or can this be done?
Yeah.
And obviously, if there's an office personnel there, they're probably saying, I don't know. You'll need to talk to either an engineer, you're going to need to talk
Right.
to a lineman, or whatever it might be, or they'll get in touch with a supervisor, and sometimes they do it right there,
Yeah.
but some other times they can't. Fine. We will get an answer and get it back to you. And every single time they have contacted me with an answer, may not have been the answer I wanted.
We don't like to do that, but
Well,
sometimes it does happen.
It just, and it's a lot of times I'm asking, can this be done?
Right.
Or is it possible?
And sometimes it may not be now, but 5 years from now, it may be possible.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you just never really know where the advancement of technology is going to come in that
Right.
might fit in with what Intercounty's doing. And then, like right now, with all these extra credits that are going to be going towards students, I think it's great.
Yeah.
With the capital credits that are just not being collected.
Yeah.
Nobody wants them.
They just
Let's
go
put
back
'em-
in.
Let's
Just
put them to good use.
yeah.
Let's educate our kids. Let's educate
Help those
somebody.
kids that want to go to college and may not have the money. There's
Sure.
extra scholarships there, or put into these youth programs like this youth tour and things like that. It's good for the kids.
Well, I really wish the kids who have earned the trip to the cycle. Do you want to list the ones that are going?
I
Or do you
actually
not
don't have that list
Okay.
with me
I
today.
didn't know if you had it or not. Okay, but it really is an educational as well as an enjoyable trip.
They have a lot of they do a lot of different things. They typically have either a pizza party or a barbecue at the park, and just a lot of team building type exercises and just a lot of fun games. They get a visit from Casey Wolf, which that may or may not be coming back after this year, because my understanding is he's retiring.
Well, they'll have another Casey Wolf.
There'll be
It's not-
another one,
it's
but
not going to be
he
him,
just
yeah.
won't have the same stories.
No, and then really, I'll tell you what,
He's phenomenal. He really is.
He really is, and he's a great community guy.
Yes, he really is.
He shows up and does all these different things for his community. He does.
He does stuff outside the country. He does stuff here locally, and like you said, he doesn't charge. He's happy to talk to people.
Yeah.
And the things that he nearly ended his life in one of the stunts for one of the games.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
It was really crazy.
Yeah. But, and that's what people need to understand. Giving back to your community is so important as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I would hope the cycle kids would do this. Yeah. Yes, it's an education and entertainment thing for them, but they can then tell the students for the next year, hey, even if you don't make first place, that cycle thing was cool. You should have seen this, or you should have seen that when we were in Jeff City. We got a chance to do this.
We've never had any of the kids come back and say, I wish I wouldn't have went.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time. They've always come back and said, I had so much fun. I learned so much. We do fun things too, aside from the learning. They spend a day in St. Louis at the City Museum or the Science Center. I believe it's the City Museum again this year. And then they go to Dave and Buster's and just a little bit of fun, so.
I like Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
I used to have stock at Dave and Buster's.
Oh.
Unfortunately, it kind of fell on hard time. It's coming back, though.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Yep.
But one of the things that I always loved about these things is the fear of the unknown.
Right.
And that's why some of these kids may back out.
Sometimes they back out.
They
yeah.
don't know how they're going to interact with other kids.
I don't know anybody going.
Yeah,
so,
Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes just
you meet people that are just going to be there through, most of these kids that have gone in the past, they still have Snapchat groups or texting groups, and they keep in contact with each other even long after they've gone on the conference.
right.
They talk all the time. Some of them even find out they room together. They're going to the same college. They can room together if they know no one else or whatever.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunities that comes from this trip.
Actually, with the cycle group becomes a team, just like the trip
Yes.
that goes to D.C. becomes a team. You become a team, and I don't know, I'm going to use a sports analogy here,
Right.
but when you become a team, whether you're with that team for 8 weeks or 8 years, you make contacts in that team, and later on down the road,
You may run into
you
them.
may meet back up with that teammate, and it might be in a situation where you need help, and that teammate's the one that can give you that help or assist
true.
you, or whatever it might be that, or you might be there for them.
Yeah.
You just don't know. God plays really strange tricks
really
on
does.
people sometimes. I say, I'll pick him and put them with those people because I know 10 years down the road they're going to need each other.
And for instance, the kids that have went to Washington, D.C., they were there the one time, and one of the Secret Service agents actually went on youth tour from Missouri. I want to say he was from Kirksville, but anyhow, they got hooked up with him, and that was a good part of the reason that they were able to now tour the limousine.
Oh,
They get to see the Beast in person. He helped orchestrate that.
Yeah.
So you never know where things are going to take you,
No.
or some of the people that you went on these trips with, what kind of doors they can open for you.
And ask questions while
Yeah.
you're there. That's why they're having these cycle programs. That's why they're taking you to DC, so you
Yeah.
can learn and open up those new horizons that are waiting for you out there.
Exactly.
And I hate to say this, Vanessa, because it makes me sound like I'm getting old. But as a youngster, I remember having opportunities to do things that I didn't take advantage of.
Yes.
I could have.
And you look back.
I look
and
back.
You go, I wish I
and-
would have done that.
Exactly. And
Yes.
I'm telling you, and it wasn't something that would have been that much extra effort. It's just that
At the time,
I
other
didn't
things
wanna
were
do it.
important.
I
Didn't
wanna
wanna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. Mom,
Yes.
Dad told me to do it. I don't want to do it. Or whatever the case might be. Guys, I'm telling you right now, parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, if you got a junior next year that's going to qualify for this program, doggone it, make them write the essay.
Yes.
And I say make them write the essay. It's only going to take 5 to 15 minutes to write 500-word essay.
Yeah.
Please, it's not that hard.
And it takes so little time. We had one of the kids in Mountain Grove tell us, she says, I got to be honest, I almost forgot till the last day, and I knocked out my essay in 20 minutes. And she was one of the ones that won the trips.
Yeah. And it
Took her 20 minutes of her day.
it's no longer a research project where you got to go dig up a whole bunch of facts. It's basically a question about yourself and how you view things.
And some of that's by design because you have so much AI now involved in everything.
Exactly. So a lot of it can, but they really want your gut feeling. They really
Yes.
want your attitude.
Opinion. Want to know what
they
you
wanna know
feel
what you're
and
thinking
think.
because they can't adapt things to our growing youth population if they don't know it. You
And
can't-
anybody can do a research paper and can do the research, but opinion matters.
Yeah. And back that opinion up with what you've heard
Yes.
or what you feel.
Why you think that?
And why you think that. It's good. And
Yes.
we'll be talking a lot more about Youth Tour again for 2026 here and the
Yes.
essay contest coming up probably, again, starting more likely in December.
Yeah, that's
Get you
coming
ready
up
for
quickly.
it. It'll be here before you know it. But again, I don't want to beg parents and beg aunts and uncles and grandpas and grandmas out there. But if you have a person who's going to be a junior next year, this is an opportunity I wish would have been available when I was in school. It was
Yes.
not. I did take advantage of a lot of things in school. I don't mean to sound like I regretted everything I didn't do because sometimes I just got lazy.
Yeah. I was the same way, and I
Yeah.
wish I would have participated
Yeah.
because I feel like I would have gotten a lot out of it.
Because
There's a lot of things now that I struggle with that it would have been
Right.
a whole lot easier if I
But-
would have done this.
But at the time, you were afraid to step out of your comfort zone,
Yes.
or just that doesn't sound like it's going to be interesting to me. Now, why we would say that when we don't know anything about it, I don't know.
Presentations are something that I have struggled with. I don't like public speaking.
Oh, no, I get
and
that,
I
yeah.
am faced with it a lot more. This would have probably been a huge help.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
been a great thing. All right, you got anything else?
Well, we've got our movie night coming up July the 12th.
Woo, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, this Saturday night here in Salem at the City Park. They're going to be showing Mufasa. So,
Family night.
yeah.
Family night at the park.
And it is free.
It's free. That's the best thing.
Yes.
That's the best thing. And you've got movie nights in other locations too
Yes,
coming
we
up
do.
too. In case you can't make the one in
we've-
Salem.
Had to pour Kabul. Weather has played in theirs. This is the second time we've had to reschedule. I'm not sure what the date is. I believe it's a Friday coming up. But we do have Salem this Saturday night, like I said, at the City Park. The movie will start about 9. And then we also have the Dent County Livestock Auction for the 4-H and FFA groups coming up next weekend here in Salem. That's
Busy
always
July.
a big event. Yes.
Busy July.
Yes.
It is a busy July. You guys are really busy in the summer with, again, festivals,
Mm-hmm.
expos, things of that nature. And don't forget, too, if you have a need for your club to have a speaker,
Yes.
Inter
We're
County
always
can
happy
produce
to.
that. Absolutely.
I know we've been doing some fire departments. They've also, my understanding is they just recently spoke with the police department in Licking, and I think recently they spoke with the sheriff's department here in Dent County. Our dispatcher and I think some of our safety people were there for that as well. If you have a group that you want these people to know what to do if they come in contact with power lines, say in an auto accident, a bus accident, anything like that, any kind of safety
Or
programs,
flood.
we're happy. Flood, yeah.
Yeah, because of the
That's another
recent
big
thing
thing,
in
yeah.
Texas. Flood.
Yeah.
Those electric lines are still alive in the water.
They sure can be. Yeah. And then, we've had those. We do energy efficiency programs. If you have some groups that you would like, teach a little bit energy efficiency to. We used to do that with some of the, like the health departments and stuff like that. We've done that with senior citizen groups. We've done that with neighborhood watch groups, any of those, any groups that if you have a need for a speaker, we'd be happy to send somebody your way.
All they have to do is call.
Yeah.
What's that number, Vanessa?
866-621-3679.
I knew you would know that number. I didn't have to worry about that. And definitely, it's a good investment of time.
Yes.
And one of the things that we don't normally mention with linemen being out there on call, they are a first responder. People keep forgetting that they go, oh no, first responders, police or fire or ambulance or what. No, that lineman is going to be out there. A lot of times they can't even do anything until the electric is shut off.
Yes.
So
and yes.
don't believe that a lineman is not a first responder.
Another thing, your road and your county commission, your county workers, we're happy to come and talk to them because I know I sit on a road and bridge board for our township in Licking, and we had an instance where a dump truck driver come in contact with a power line, and he actually had the foreman shortly behind him in a grader, and he says, what am I supposed to do? Do I need to get out of the truck? He says, don't get out of the truck. Whatever you do, call Intercounty right now. So he
Shut
called
that electric off.
Yep.
Yeah, that one little step could.
That one step, all it takes is to touch that truck and touch the ground.
And you are a conductor.
You'll not be going home to see your family.
For a short period of time, yeah.
Yes.
For a short period of time.
You very possibly may not go home to see your family.
So,
it's very
again,
important.
So if you would like to schedule a speaker or find out more information about how they can come and address a group.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be 500 people. It could be 5 to 10 people.
Yeah.
They still love to send people out and talk about what they do to Intercounty. So again,
we love to talk to people.
I noticed that. Give them a call. Get that number, Vanessa.
866-621-3679.
Don't forget about Smart Hub. Don't forget about all the things you can do at Intercounty. If you have any questions, again, that number works for everybody. And we just hope that you give them a call and keep aware of scams. There's still a lot of them out there. And I know Heather went over
Yes, and if you have a question, if someone contacts you and says that they are from Intercounty, don't call the number that they give you. Don't let them tell you that we've changed our 800 number. Call the number that you're used to calling, or if you have any question, if somebody calls and says, hey, we're going to be in your area doing some work, and if you're concerned if it's really Intercounty or not, call us. We'll be happy to look it up, check it out, and tell you, hey, we do not have any right-of-way crews there, we do not have any crews there, or we do have crews there. Because there are times that we have contracted crews coming in doing spraying or right-of-way cleaning. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us because we will be happy to find out if it's legit or not. And sometimes that can get people that are not legit, the authorities involved.
And watch out for fishing expeditions online.
Yes.
Sometimes I haven't had it from Intercounty, but I've gotten emails from other groups that say, oh, by the way, your payment's due. You need to send it. You can send it right now to the. No. They will send you a text notice your payment is due.
Don't click on any of those links. Don't click on any of those links.
Don't link to any of that stuff. And again, if you have any questions about that in email or text, call them.
Yes, and we're happy. We're happy to say, no, that's not us. Go with what you know. If you want to go to our website, ieca.coop.
Yeah.
You can go to your Smart Hub app. Don't click on any of those links in those text messages because it may look legit. It may be somebody you're used to dealing with, but it could be a scam, and they just make it look like us.
Yeah.
I've had a few of those unpaid toll tickets.
Yeah, and Smart Hub, by the way, would tell you if your bill is paid.
Yes, it will.
So you don't have to.
It can tell you how much you use every day too.
It
can
does.
tell you your usage.
There's a lot of plus. We could talk another 5 hours on just Smart Hub and all the things there.
We could probably
from old rural Missouri editions. If you've lost yours or wanted to find something or go back and find one of those places that they recommend to eat or stop by.
You can find those on our website, or sometimes we can even find those in our archives there at the office.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. I really do enjoy that. And sometimes even if you go on the Smart Hub, you'll find additional information in that article that wasn't in the magazine. some of that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really so many interesting stories.
Yeah.
I love reading that magazine. To be
And
honest with you, I look for little small town stuff in there to say, because I really want to in the next couple of years go to small towns. I know we're losing our small towns, but I want to
Oh,
go
I
to
know.
them. The difference of night and day between the cities
Yes.
and small towns,
Yes.
huge, huge. So I enjoy going to small towns.
Yep.
Sit down. You're not a stranger.
No.
Not for very long.
Not for very
you
long.
might initially be a stranger, but if you open up and talk to those people, they want to tell you about their town.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really becomes, as long as you're willing to listen, they're willing to talk.
And we do have text alerts now that you can sign up for through our Smart Hub app as well.
Well, Vanessa, it's been a pleasure. I think you've
You
done
too.
great for your first solo.
Well, thank you.
And we'll have to tell Heather about she's getting challenged now.
Oh, great.
Anyway, we do appreciate our friends from Intercounty. They're here the second Tuesday of every month, and we really do appreciate that. We do it at 8:30. Always appreciate the great support we get from Intercounty, but also
We appreciate what you do for us.
We really, really understand how important it is to get the information out to you. And that's what it's really all about. That's why we're here, and we hope that you take a lot of what we talk about to heart, and especially with these youngsters, with the cycle tour, with the DC tour experiences. My goodness, I look back, and I wish that I would have had those kind of opportunities.
Yeah.
Those just didn't exist back when I was in school, which was half a century ago. Just wasn't there.
Yeah.
When you look at it now, and so many opportunities for the youngsters are awakening out. There's more scholarships, more of everything. Gosh, if they just go and they make connections that's going to benefit them later on in life. I played ice hockey at St. Louis University. I still have connections with those guys 50 years later.
Yes.
Yeah, and if I need something, I can actually call some of them, and they can tell me what I need to do. So don't think that a connection you make in your youth can't come back and be of assistance to you. It can.
Yes.
It really can.
Exactly.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much,
that.
Stan.
You have a great rest of the day. Try and
You
stay
too.
cool out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And hopefully you won't get rained on the way back. It looks a little cloudy out there, so be careful.
Yes.
And we will see you soon. And
Okay.
again, are you going to be out at the expo or...
I will
At
not
the
be
movie night?
I will not be at the movie night. I have a livestock auction in Texas County Saturday. So we have our 4-H and FFA livestock auction in
Right.
Texas County Saturday. So,
So
I will be out there
You're
at
going
that.
to be busy.
Yep.
You'll be busy.
Yes.
Well, you have a good time.
You too.
Try and stay cool out there.
Yes,
Still supposed
thank
to be
you.
pretty hot coming the weekend. All right.
Yes.
That's Vanessa Hainline from Intercounty Electric on KSMO Radio, 1340 AM, 95.7 FM, and streaming on KSMOradio.com, KSMO Stream, Facebook, and KSMO YouTube.